Perfect. Great. We are online.
Yeah.
Right now. So I think right now we are actually live on LinkedIn and we are live on YouTube as well, if anybody wants to follow us on Emigrate over there. But since we know that everyone's kind of busy at the end of their days, trying to get things going for the holiday season, we can get started. So as many of you know, my name is Cyrus Weatherford. I am the co-founder and CEO of Emigrate. And today we are speaking with Lucy Larsson, who is one of the founders of Garden of Talents that specifically works to tackle brain waste in Sweden and to help kind of unlock the international talent and support international job seekers in Sweden. So without further ado, very quickly, so the agenda today, we'll talk a bit about the Garden of Talents, what brain waste is, the biggest challenges facing international job seekers in Sweden, Lucy's advice for job seekers after a lot of the work that she's done, and a bit of a Q&A. So Lucy, take it away and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Saya, for the opportunity to do this together. Our initiatives and our work aligned, and we are working from different angles towards the same goal. Yes, I have been living in Sweden for more than 20 years with a background of management, human resources, training development. I have been navigating both the public and the private sector, including the EU and the UN. So that's my background. And 2 years ago, I changed careers. So I focus on career coaching. And my passion and work that I do, I would like to help us international talents to find our place and have our place in the Swedish labor market. So that's a little bit about me. Yes. What do you think, Saya? Should I continue?
Yeah, actually, I think it would be good because I think that you're somebody that if anybody follows you on LinkedIn, then you're also very proud of where you came from 20 years ago as well. And I think you've done a nice cross between obviously being a very active part of Sweden and the Swedish workforce and, you know, becoming a Swede in that aspect without actually losing your own home culture and who you are and kind of having that idea of integration in the sense of understanding the host country and then also like your home country. So I would love it if you could just fill people in on where you're from and kind of how that has shaped your work in Sweden as well.
Yeah. Yes. There's an island in the South Pacific, the biggest ocean in the world is named Samoa. Only about 200,000 people living there. And that's where I'm from. So I moved here 20 years ago. And of course, I met a Swedish in New Zealand. That's where I studied a bachelor in information science. So coming to Sweden as a graduate, of course, it's been a challenge journey, finding a job and the language. And finding that sense of belonging, and it really changes you and your identity, and that's what happened to me. So along the way, for more than 15 years, I was lost on the way, finding who my identity actually. Who am I? What am I? Where do I belong? And that is something that it really challenged me and helped me to shape who I am and what I do now. Because whatever we do in this country for myself, I gave up on my culture. I gave up on my personality and everything, trying to do the fit in stuff, like where do we fit in, where do I fit in? And then I discovered when I went back to my country, I found out I don't belong there because people look at me like, no, you're not from here because you've been abroad for years. And when I come here, I don't belong here either because they may tell me, oh, you don't speak Swedish and you have to start with another job, not in your field. And then that's where I want to find out, okay, where do I belong? So I tapped into my cultural values. So that's where I really encourage and I advocate today. Whatever you do, if you're struggling, tap into yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that can start a whole other conversation about bridging those sort of cultures, and it happens to a lot of international kids that grow up known as like third culture kids, which obviously I think is what a lot of people face. But just so that people that are watching kind of understand the context that Lucy is coming from as well. And I think it's something really interesting, and I love the fact that you advocate for it and that you have pride in where you're from while still bridging that pride in where you are now as well.
yeah. And I truly believe that like sometimes we ask the question, well, what can we do more? And we talk about inclusion and diversity, and that's our thing to bring to the table. We are diverse, diversity, so we bring that to the table. And then how can we do inclusion? Well, start with including yourself with your own culture and share that. That's a very powerful, I call it, it's a powerful tool and resource you have to bring that out and share.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So in terms then of brain waste, which is really kind of the mantra of Garden of Talents is stop brain waste, what exactly is brain waste?
Yes, well, according to the EU, when you Google and EU define this, it's a non-recognition of skills and qualifications acquired by migrant outside the EU. And then you think to make things easier to understand, you can think like this: a teacher working as a nanny when the overcrowded classrooms need her or him. And then you think about engineers driving taxis and delivering food when infrastructure is crumbling and falling apart. And you think about the IT, the software developer that is very unique in their talent and can solve a problem in an hour, is out there doing other jobs like cleaning and delivering pizza when actually they are needed in the market. So that is brain waste. The non-utilizing of our resources, our competence and talents.
I think they say even what is it? Sweden has just like the most educated taxi driving workforce.
Yes, I can agree to that. And if you look at some stats, there is a lot of you can say a lot of migrant workers from the south, when you say the global south, from India or Asia, that group, and a lot of them that are unemployed today. And if you compare it to Swedish born is about 2%, and migrants it's 8%. And there's a huge difference. Then you ask the question, what can we do to bridge that gap and to help ourselves in society?
I think there's also, I was speaking with somebody who was doing an investigation a few months ago about this, if there is also specifically bias against Asian, or I guess like Southern state education with comparison to Western education as well. So it's the added layer of not trusting, kind of non-recognition of skills, but actually a further non-recognition if they were educated in the non-Western world as well.
Yeah.
In terms of what you would say the challenges that you've seen facing job seekers in Sweden, there's kind of a few that we've discussed in the past and things like that. But what would you say are kind of the biggest challenges facing international job seekers in Sweden at the moment?
Well, lately, one of the biggest that is really trending now, it's the visa and the work permit requirements. That is one of the biggest that I've seen right now. And I've learned from you, Saya, your work about this. But the culture difference and language, And those are the biggest ones that I have discovered. And then the lack of network. People don't really know where to turn, where to start, and who to ask. Because there is also a lot of speculations about the different experiences we all have, and then we all think that, oh, that is the truth about everything, but it's so different. And then the one of the my own personal finding with the people that I work with is a lack of confidence from our side, from as talents, and from the other side with companies, like not having the confidence that the people they meet can really do the job, are who they are. So it's also a sense of trust, believing in the document, in this qualification that they bring with them. So these are some of the challenges. And then I've also seen one of the challenges is that colleagues or international talents have been here for many years, like more than 3 years, as spouses to the partner that is having the job. And that is the challenge. When they arrive here, they do not really know where to go and what to do. And then it feels so, how do you say, excluded. This feeling of exclusion, not getting in somewhere. And that's one of the biggest challenge. Like, how can we capture and get hold of and give a place to bring forward those talents and that competence, and then that's where people feel like, lost their value, and then it's so hard to get into a room that is full of networking and employers and recruitment and express themselves.
Would you say, I guess also too, have you been seeing, because obviously something that's more recently developed in Sweden is the fact that dependents of work permit holders aren't eligible for permanent residency unless they actually meet financial requirements of having a job, and what they need to be able to do is actually have a job that provides for at least half of the household's expenses. Which means that right now we're having a lot of people that maybe don't come from an extensive career background. They came as, a partner and a parent, and they're stay at home, and now they're faced with they need to actually find a job after having a fairly extensive career gap and having come here not with the intention of actually starting work. Have you seen kind of an uptick in those sort of people seeking support now as well, in terms of having fairly big career gaps, or how does Sweden itself feel about career gaps?
Yes, I have seen and I have met some individuals that are having this career gap, and I can say that I don't really know how Sweden is tackling this problem. I haven't really found or discovered any initiatives or any actions how to help these individuals, because how I met them is through Rusta Matcha, the program that Albert Medling is, and they found themselves there. And then I question, okay, how can Rustam Matcha help you to fill this gap? Because we can say that Rustam Matcha is a good initiative, but it's for another purpose. But for filling the gap, that is not really. You cannot find how to solve that there. It's a challenge that I think the community, the municipality, for example, we live in Gothenburg, that we really need to step up and see, these is our people. This is our people, and now the things are happening in my head right now, because this gap, this gap, it's really is dangerous. It's really dangerous because not only the parents, the academics, the international talents are suffering when it comes to the health. It also influences and have a negative impact on the children. And then that escalate. It's like a dribble effect, that this problem is dribbling down, and it really impacts other part of our society and our families. And I see it happening now. And in my work as in Ghana Talents, I think, okay, how can we do this as a contingency plan? Like to step in and try to capture the talents that are coming here, and how can we help them not to have this gap? Because I see as well, it's a lot of culture that we bring with us to Sweden. And then we talk in inclusion, and then we wait for Sweden to include us. And I think, okay, can we do something to include ourselves, to help ourselves not find not finding ourselves in this gap in 3 or 5 years from now? Yeah. So okay, I stopped there because now my head is.
I think this is again another full discussion that we can have, because it's one of those things that has now added, obviously, to the people that are unwillingly unemployed, of a bunch of people that came here without, where their partner made more than enough to support the family and all of that stuff, and then now are finding themselves scrambling for a job. And obviously, not to get political, but it does affect the attractiveness of Sweden. If families have to face these new hurdles towards permanent residency and citizenship, for example, because these are things that people take into consideration, especially kind of highly skilled, highly qualified people in industries where there's a greater demand than there is a supply. Then they make these choices based on their families as well. But I suppose that's a conversation to be had over wine. In terms of then for the advice, and we'll go a bit more into what Garden of Talents does in terms of the 10-week program and things, but in terms of like the basic advice that you would have for job seekers in Sweden that have faced these challenges, what would be kind of advice that you would give people that are on the hunt?
Well, I start with asking, what is it that you really want? That's a very important question, and I get often the answer when I ask this question is, I want a job. Okay, yes, that's great, but what kind of job? What is it that you really want in life? Because there is so much, there's a very something much bigger than just a job, and that's something that I advocate to bring it out, because it's help all of us to navigate our way, because then the visa and the job are the tools to be able to reach that what I want. And I have learned so much from my own journey, but the people that I have met today, asking this question and resonating, what is it that you really want, to open up, and everything comes down to a better life for myself and my family, and that is something very huge. And then when I hear that, and I think, well, we are not so different from each other. We all want a better life. But that's the very important thing. What is it that you really want? And do a focus on that. To be able to free yourself from stressing over everything else that's outside of our control. And talking about control, today it's a lot of excuses like, I'm not getting a job, we don't hire because of the way how the economy is looking over right now. And then we follow that stream and depend on that. That's why we're not doing a job. Then we stay passive.
Mm.
And then I asked another question. Okay, you cannot control the market. It's totally, you cannot control the politicians and how they make decisions about your visa. You cannot control how the employers hire or not, holding their budget or spending their budget. You cannot control the recruiters not answering you or contacting you, but you can control your own way of searching a job. And yesterday, I met a lady that shared with me her journey. I have applied for jobs for 3 years and no one contacted me. Then I asked her, okay, how have you done it? She said, like 1, 2, 3. Have you do it differently? No. Then that's your answer. You have to do it differently. So depending on the quality or the quantity, everyone is focusing on, I have applied for 1,000 jobs in the last 3 years. Well, don't apply for 1,000 more for the next 3 years. Focus on the quality of the opportunities out there. And you can find quality when you really sit down and what is in it. And then the network. Most of us were talking about the network, that, we don't have the network. Well, the network will not come to you. You have to go out and get the network. And again, I received a question recently like this. Well, I have been networking for so many times, but I don't feel I have the connection. And then I said, well, when you walk into the room, scan the room, set a goal. How many contacts would you like to meet? I want to meet as many as I can. Well, then you think quantity. I want to think quality. Like when I go networking, I walk in the room and I scan and I tell myself, okay, I would like to talk to 4 people, like really talk. And then I spend for my time capturing 4 people. Yeah, and self-care. Take care of yourself. Enjoy Sweden. Enjoy the cold. It's cold, but yeah, it's give yourself credit that you made it this far, and you deserve to be happy regardless of everything else that's happening around us.
Yeah. I'd like to go into a few of the points that you've made. First of all, obviously, I think there is something to be said for quality over quantity. I've spoken with different HR departments and kind of larger companies, and, they have said that a lot of times if a job ad goes out, then there will be people that not even close to qualifying for any of the requirements that will apply simply because they want to either move to Sweden or they need a work permit in Sweden, which makes them quite frustrated because then they have hundreds and hundreds of applications to sift through. And it makes them, I think it creates biases against specific CVs and against specific kind of areas or names that come in. In terms of when we're talking quality and you're talking about positioning yourself as an expert, not as a job seeker, do you have a specific percentage in terms of how much of the requirements in a job advertisement that they should probably fulfill in order to apply for the job?
You mean when you read the announcement and
the job requirements or what they're looking for in a candidate?
Yes.
Obviously, you don't have to fulfill all of it, right? Because those sort of the candidate thing is a wish list. It's not 100%. But if you also only fulfill 30% of what they're looking for, then your chance of getting a callback is extremely low. Is there kind of a percentage or a tactic that you recommend to the job seekers that go through Garden of Talents in terms of how much of their education and experience should actually apply to that job?
Yes, the percentage I don't have, but a tactic I have. We work with tactics, and it's I like to put it this way. like when you read an announcement, an advertisement, read it with some classes that tells you this is me and I can do this. So, and if you see, like, for example, 3 out of 5 are yours, go for it and focus on elaborating on that. Like, bring out what is the value of, what is my value, what is the added value that I contribute with these 3 things. Like, focus on that, because the thing, I used to work as a recruiter. So when I read it, when I read a very nice story about something, a very nice description, a very value-added description of something on a CV, then I forget all the other stuff. Then I focus on that. It captures my attention, and that is why in our program we work a lot with storytelling technique. To bring out what is the value added of my competence to solve a problem for a company. So yes, the tactics is there to work exactly on, look at the things that really resonates, and you can ask the question, I can do this better than anyone else. Then go for it. Focus on that. Bring that out on your CV.
So focus on why, like fulfilling the 3 things that you fulfill out of 5, why you're going to be so good at that the other 2 out of 5, you're so good you'll either learn those on the fly and you'll be great at those 2, or those 2 things, they don't even matter, because the 3 out of the 5 things you can do is going to blow them out of the water.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would never know how the recruiter will react, but that's my personal experience. Is how good am I to sell that part that I am very good at? Because then sometimes the recruiter will say, "Oh, you're missing these things, but I really like the things that you're writing. Maybe we have something else that suits you." So it's like opening a door for the recruiter to think about, oh yeah, we have another position available somewhere else. And it also a way of remembering, because then you will remember, oh, I read that story somewhere, then I will go back and look for you. So yeah, I would say like that. And the thing about there's something else, like the Swedish language. You have to be fluent in the Swedish language. I really encourage you not to get stuck there. Don't get stuck there with the Swedish language. With all respect, it is needed by some companies and some organizations, but don't get stuck. Give it a try if you see that you can do everything else except the language.
Yeah. I think it's like, it ultimately comes down to actually making sure that you properly read the advertisement and also do some research on the company as well. Because like you say, companies often get stuck on Swedish, and for a lot of them it turns out it doesn't matter, but it's good if you actually know something about the company when you make that argument. Because if I were to then apply as a marketer for a company that all of their materials, they only have a Swedish website, all of their social media is in Swedish, then I can't make that valid argument that Swedish doesn't matter. But if I do my research and find that it's an international company, and like you look at all these things and all the channels don't necessarily have Swedish, then you can make that argument, but you have to show that you actually like read the prompt in the first place to be able to make those arguments as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. In terms of then, because you have, and you made the announcement on LinkedIn today, you have 2 kind of exciting things coming up then. Or I guess they're part of the same thing, but they have kind of 2 exciting dates. In terms of, if I can move forward, what then is next for Garden of Talents? And can you just walk us a bit more through what your 10-week program looks like?
Yes. So at the moment, we are recruiting. I can say we are recruiting and opening up our registration for the Acceleration Professional Program that we are having in January, starting on the 22nd. It's a 10 weeks program, and this program It's a hands-on, very practical, intensive, and it starts with you. Like we really package you to show your unique selling point, if we can use that term. How do you position yourself as an expert? And bring out the confidence that you have, because we believe in when you come to Sweden, you don't come empty-handed. You have 30 years or more with working experience, and your family, your parents, and your country has invested in you. And when you come here, we want to show that investment to Sweden and tell, like, hey, you have nothing to lose hiring me. So that's what we do. And on the 3rd of April, that's where the big event, and this is where we bring the talents and the employers in-house, shake hands and have that dialogue. So when we stand in the show on the 3rd of April as a talent, you are not just a job seeker, you are an expert. You are the position of an expert. And the dialogue, it's not asking, do you have a job for me? The dialogue is about your core competence. What is it that you are doing? And talk about problems from the organization and show them how you solve them. So that's a program that we are having and we are planning in our plan, and we are recruiting, and we do take in different professions and open up to international talents. But for the event and the show in January, we encourage a lot those who are in IT. That's where we have identified that we need to work more on that. The market is limited, but we are so many here in Sweden. So we do an online as well as an on-site. So if you live in Gothenburg, we have the chance to do the on-site program. And for our colleagues from everywhere in Sweden, we have the online program. So those are the things, and the two, yes, they are together in order to make you ready for the employers and recruiters. We have to work 10 weeks, very intensive. So if you have done different programs with different initiatives in Sweden, well, bring all those techniques and tools that you have learned, and we work with them practical in the program. So yes, and on the 27th December, we're running an online event as well. I also and that is to share more of what we do, like for example, how to position yourself as an expert, and we'll introduce more of the program as well and answer a lot of questions. Yeah.
So we'll put a link for that in the comments as well, so that people can register for that event. And definitely for people that are job seeking, I do definitely recommend applying for the program with Garden Talents. I think that you and we first started chatting a few months ago, and one thing that I really liked about the concept was the fact that rather than turning it into a job fair where everybody's clamoring to try to meet these individual companies, is you've turned it so that now companies come to meet the talents instead. And it's a bit more of a showcase, and it's an interesting way to kind of turn recruitment from a different angle, especially for a group of people that don't have the network that people that grew up here and went to, kind of legacy schools and things like that have. So I think that this is really valuable for people that are interested in applying. There are specific conditions in terms of for example, residence permits in terms of getting into the Garden of Talents program. Doesn't actually, you can't apply for then a work permit, for example, or another permit type through it. But I'm assuming in the application, there's all those kind of requirements and rules in there as well.
There are requirements with the program, so feel free to read in the link that will be shared in the comments and reach out and ask. We also have created group on LinkedIn, so you can join and ask questions about the program. And I really encourage the international talent here in Sweden. Like, there is this study in Sweden that international talents is the answer to Sweden's shortage of competence. So you are the answer. So all we have to do is we have to show up. We have to show ourselves, and that's the most important thing that we do at Garden of Talents is to show up, to make it known. We talk about hidden jobs. Well, we are hidden talents, so the hidden jobs and hidden talents we align somehow.
Yeah, and I think especially like you're focused on giving people confidence to go for it as well is a really important aspect of it.
Yeah.
To also allow them to continue to apply for jobs that they're qualified for, not just jobs that they're extremely overqualified for and taking whatever they can get, because that doesn't lead to retention. It doesn't lead to the best or the most active workforce either.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. If people are in the live and you haven't connected yet, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. I put our photos so that you know exactly. Maybe for me, there's only one of me. I don't know how many Lucy Larsons there are, but in case, this is Lucy Larsson. So feel free to connect, and then we will put the link to the event that you guys have on December 27th. We'll put the link there too. We'll also put up the link for applying for the January program starting, as well as I think it would be good. I actually learned some useful things as well, so we might just do a recap carousel on our LinkedIn with some helpful tips and tricks coming from Garden of Talents in terms of supporting your job search as well. So thank you for anybody who tuned in on a Wednesday afternoon or evening. This conversation is going to be available on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well if people want to catch it afterwards, because we also know that probably, similar to you, Lucy, people are being stuck in traffic. So thank you so much to everyone who came, and if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments as well. Thanks so much, guys.
Yes. Thank you so much, Saya, and thank you, everyone.